1, 2, 3, 4. And I think we're actually on. So why I just get organised, I thought that I'd play you the first video, because today's going to be about the a7IV and also some Tamron lenses actually. I thought that I'd play you the first ever video that I shot with the a7 III. So I thought we'd start out with that. So let's just check that out.
Give me your strength and show me your weakness. We're in this together now. We're in this together now. Give me your love and tell me your secrets. 'Cause we're in this together now. Yeah, we're in this together now. I'll keep you safe, I'll give you my everything. Even if we're falling down, even if we're falling down, all of me is yours, every part of me. 'Cause we're in this together now. You and me together now. What's the point of living if we're scared to lose each other? What's the point of living without you? Tell me now and I'll stop fighting. Tell me now and I'll stop breathing. I don't want to be here without you. Without you. Without you. Without you. Without you. No, 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 no. I'll be your light, I'll keep you from darkness. Even when the sun don't shine, even when the sun don't shine. Give me your strength, show me your weakness. 'Cause we're in this together now. You and me together now. What's the point of living if we're scared to lose each other? What's the point of living without you? Tell me now and I'll stop fighting. Tell me now and I'll stop breathing. I don't want to be here without you. Without you. Without you. Without you. Without you.
And we're back live. Just wanted to talk to you about that because that was shot with the a7 III, and I think we all forget how good the a7 III actually is. And this camera has taken it to another level. And I'm going to go through the whole sort of thing with you today about, I'm going to say goodbye. We're in pre-show at the moment. Let me just put that up. Can I bring that up? I'm still running this beta software, so let me just see if I can bring that up. Yeah, it's working. So we're in pre-show. If you want to skip this, if you're watching this later on, you can I'll put the timeline down below. So now I'm hoping the stream is still okay too, because I'm going to do 4K again today. So hopefully everything's okay. It's coming up with some warnings, but it's not me. It's actually YouTube, I think. But it's saying the streaming quality is good, so we'll find out anyway. So I wanted to talk to you all about what I think about the a7IV release, and that's why I wanted to play that video at the beginning, because like I said, I think people forget how good the a7 III is. And still is, in fact. And you're probably going to be able to get that at a really good price now as well, seeing that the a7IV is just about to be announced. But the a7IV has taken it to another level. Now, I think, to sort of let you know at the beginning, right from the start, I think it would be the best hybrid camera that is available at the moment, by far. I think it certainly is. Now, there is a couple of issues, and I'll talk about those as we go through it. But having said that, I think the camera is amazing, and I think Sony have done an incredible job bringing this out. What I think is also a really good price too. I know it's still not cheap, but it's a great price for everything that's get on it. I noticed someone just said, Diogo, did you spend? How much did you spend on your new MacBook Pro? Well, let me say it was over $5,000, so it was pretty expensive. That's why I'm definitely not going to be buying this camera, because I've just bought a Mac Pro. I get it next week, I think. Can't wait. I'm still using the M1 at the moment, but yeah, I have spent a fair bit of money on it, but I can't wait to get it, so it's great. So I think overall, looking at it, before we start looking at the specs and everything else of this camera, I think Sony have done a great job. I really do. And, you know, if I wasn't, we are actually coming out of lockdown, believe it or not, in another week we'll be basically free. So I can't wait for that to happen. And if weddings did pick up, you know, that it certainly could be another camera that I would want to purchase. But I'll talk about that later on. But before we start, let me just say hello to everyone that's sort of come in the pre-show. Then we'll start the show fully. So we've got Willie, which said, greetings from Northern Ireland. G'day, Willie, how are you? Is it Daniela said here, hello from Uruguay, David. I love the new Sony camera, just the sweet spot between price and good quality. Matt said, good morning from South Korea, David. Good morning, Matt. Roscoe said, greetings from Southwest Florida. Shadow said, greetings from the mothership. What's the mothership? Coming to you from the mothership. I love it. Greetings from Las Vegas. Joe said, I was the first in line at a local camera store to pre-order the a7IV. They told me the arrival would be until December. Yeah, I believe that Europe is getting it early December, and the US are going to get it at the end of December. So Europe are going to get it first for some reason. Marvelous Visual said, not too sure how long I'll hang in here. Hard greetings from the UK. Yeah, it's pretty late over there. I fully understand. Thomas said, g'day from North Carolina. I pre-ordered the a7IV as soon as it was available yesterday. Can't wait. And I bet you can't, Thomas, because it looks like it's going to be terrific. Hi, David. This spring I bought the Sony FE 70-200mm f2.8 GM lens, and I'm satisfied with it. The new one came out, and I would like to know your opinion on whether it's worth switching to the new model. If you've just bought it, it's a lot of money to switch over. I think it will be definitely a lot better. I mean, there's not much wrong with the original one, but the new one will be much sharper, and it'll also focus a lot quicker. So it just depends on whether you could get enough money back. But yeah, it's hard if you've just bought it. Any dealer who's honest admits it will be 2022 before we get one. Well, you know what? If you haven't put a pre-order in pretty quickly, I would say that's definitely the case. Juicy said, morning, David. Why is he late? No, this is the usual time I'm on. Ordering those a7IV. Oh, because I came on a little bit late. Yeah, okay. I'm always a little bit late. I'm still pre-ordering it. Currently using the a6-300. So really need the upgrade, unlike you gas addicts. Love it. Hero's just saying greetings. Notifications work today, which is terrific. I want to pre-order it as well. Well, I would say if you want to get it in any sort of a hurry, you must pre-order it. It's not going to be easy to get. I think it's going to sell very, very well. Well, that's interesting. I don't think it's a disappointment at all. But look, everyone's after different things. And I know what you're probably talking about. You're probably going to be talking about the 4K 60 crop. But I'll talk about that. I really don't think it's that much of an issue. But anyway, I'm Brown's here as well, saying good morning. George said, greetings from New Jersey, where I just pre-ordered the a7IV. Hope I did the right thing. I'm sure you did, George. It's going to be amazing. You're going to love that camera. Daniela said, I make mostly stills, but I think even for stills, it's just a sweet 33 megapixel spot. Yeah, and I do think it's a terrific sort of compromise, and I'll talk about that too as we go on. Barry said, good morning. David, the crop destroy would have been a perfect camera. Well, I'll talk about that, David. I sort of don't, well, look, it would probably matter for me, but I don't think the average user really is going to notice. You really only just have to put a wider lens on it. But if you like the full frame look, yeah, it could be a bit of an issue. A disappointment indeed. Wow, a few of you saying that. How bad is the crop? Well, it's a 1.5 crop, so it's APS-C basically. But I don't think it's really that much of an issue. If I was buying this as a camera, I would probably not hesitate to buy it. But I'll talk about that between the A7S that I've got, the A7S III, and this one as we go through the specs and summarise everything. Yeah, she is a beautiful model, Daniela. That's Kiara. She's great. And that was the first shoot that I did with the A7 III. I got that camera a day before I did that shoot. So that was the first one that I did. 1.5 crop, yeah. I mean, it is quite substantial. Sony becoming Canon with the cripple hammer. I don't think it's that bad at all. I think it's a good release. Adventuring Matthew, good morning, everyone. Deagle said, David, how much did you spend on you? Oh, well, I went through that. Has anyone used an MS Surface tablet for editing? No. Eli, the Mac Pro I got was the 14-inch. I want the smaller one because I like to take it if I travel. But it was fully spec'd apart from the hard drive, the internal hard drive. I got everything fully spec'd apart from that. I didn't get the 8 gigabytes. Yeah, I think it was 2 I got. 2 megabytes. Terabytes hard drive I got. Matthew said, the a7IV seems to have an awesome low-light performance for stills and video. It certainly does. And I believe that it's... I was watching Matt Johnson this morning, and he was saying that it's as good as the a7S III up to 12800, ISO 12800. So it looks like it's great. Lucky that you are coming out of lockdown. I know. Oh, I'm so happy. Graham said, hello from Upper Manhattan. David said, hello from the UK. Altric's in here as well. G'day, Altric. How you going? Tech for Your Needs said, hello, folks. Van said, hello, David from Pennsylvania. Is that coming up? No. Weird. Sometimes these don't come up. I don't know why. Oh, I don't know. It may be, too, that I know you have to be a subscriber to comment, so I'm not sure why that hasn't come up. It just said, Van said, hello, David from Pennsylvania. I'm very excited tonight, show about the 2 new lenses. I know I'm going to unbox those. Can't wait to have a look at them. I haven't even opened the box. It just came yesterday. The a7IV and the a7R III and the ZV-1. Couldn't decide whether I should upgrade or not. Hey, free David Osler, I love it. Joe said, I thought there were enough additions, but Jason Vong posted a video listing 50 differences between the a7 III and the a7 IV, and it changed my mind. Oh, there weren't enough differences. There certainly is. There's heaps. Nice jacket, David. Thank you so much. Leslie said, hi, David, and all well at last. The a7 IV, I know. Woo-hoo. Most people rarely need 4K 60 anyway. The people who are disappointed are those that wanted all the features of the A1 at less than half the price. Yeah, and I can fully understand that. And I think for the price you're paying for this, it really is. Like I said, I think this is the best Fusion camera that's available anywhere. Do you think Sony will add the animal eye tracking in video and coloured focus assist to the a7S III? I would think they would. Yeah, I'd be surprised if they don't. I think they will also add the cropping as well. I mean, you know, the not the cropping, the focus breathing. I think that probably will be added as well. I would think that they'll probably add those features to the A1 and also the A7S III. I think that Sony, if you're listening to this, you better had at it. Sam said, I think it was a bit underwhelming after 3-year wait, but I still pre-ordered the A740. It's not underwhelming at all, Sam. It's got some great features in that camera. Chris said, hello, David. Nice day in Los Angeles for Corona. Just got the notice you are on. Features of the A1, no features of its direct competitor, the R6. Yes, no features of the... Well, I think it's a better camera than the R6, but the R6 is also a good camera. Going to wait for the A9 III, Altrix saying. Michael said, pre-ordered, but mainly I bought it for a second camera for low light. It will be better for me at times for wedding and events. And that's where I think this is going to be a great camera. Like I said, I still think, and we'll discuss this as we go through everything later, I still think that the A7S III is a better camera if you're doing videography alone. I still love the A7S III due to the fact I think the 12 megapixels for me is perfect and I love the look of it. And in fact, I probably still would buy an A7S III over this if I had the money now, because I'm moving more and more over to video, but I do fusion, but I think 12 megapixels for me is ample. But I shoot differently to a lot of people. I never crop, or very rarely ever crop in camera. If you crop in camera, the a7IV is brilliant because you've got that 33 megapixel sensor that is giving you that ability to crop in quite substantially. So, you know, that's one big plus as well. But again, I'll talk all about these things a little bit later. But I agree, Michael, it would be a great B camera to the A7S III if you were shooting weddings, due to the fact, too, that you've got great stills out of this camera as well. After shooting with the A1, the A7 III seems slow as snails. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not replacing an A1, Tony. Look, that's for sure. But you know what? I've got by with 10 frames per second for ages. But I'll talk about that too, because there is an issue with it if you want to shoot uncompressed, because it goes down to 6. Do you think the JPEGs will come out of the camera as well? Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think that this is going to have the same color signs as the A7S. It might even be slightly improved. I have seen in the reviews that they think that the color has shifted from the slight green tinge. I haven't really noticed that green tinge in the A7S III, really. Which surprised me in some of those reviews. I love the colour straight out of it, but they're saying it's gone a little bit more towards the magenta. So I would think they've probably even improved it a little bit more, Joe. G'day, Panda. How you going, buddy? Good to see you on here. David Diogle said, the A7R4 is only 300 AUD more expensive than the A7IV. The A7IV A. A7R4A, yes. But I think the A7IV is a better camera unless you're after the resolution. So, you know, it's actually nearly $20,000 Australian when you put in the exchange rate for the A7IV. Watch Kia's video, and the A7IV seemed to miss focus quite a bit. Remember, these are pre-release versions of this, Tony. You're going to find that will improve substantially probably in the release firmware. I wouldn't base anything on how the autofocus is on this. I would think that, you know, wait till the full reviews come out on the release cameras. You're going to find all these things will be improved. Lens firmware and all these other things will have to be updated. Tech for Your Needs says, is it worth upgrading if you have the A7S III? Well, I don't. It depends. If you need the resolution for stills, yes. Like I've said to you before, I think the A7S for me is a perfect camera for video and stills. Remember, the A7S still has 4K 60 in full frame. It also has 4K 120 as well. So there is big differences between the A7S III and also this. And if you also work in very low light scenarios, you'll find that the 12800, if you are dealing with working in really high ISOs, the A7S III is going to be better. I think I would, like I said, if it was me, I would still probably buy an A7S III over this, due to the fact that I love that 12 megapixel file size. But if you need more megapixel, definitely, you know, it's a better camera than the A7S if you need that for sure. What else have we got? Therese said, good evening from California. The R6 has a crop in 4K 62. I think it was a bit less, though, wasn't it? Ted said, hi, David. I think Sony solidly answered the R6 minus flames. What's that? You're saying it doesn't overheat or something. It's a all new camera. Nothing is the same as the a7 III. Yep, exactly. Talk about the... Oh, I'm going to talk about that. Yeah. I'll talk about the screen when we go through the specs. David, question: do you think this camera will be able to shoot wildlife, birds, as well as with a 200 to 600? I want to make good videos in nature as well. Yes, I do. I think it'll be great because it's got the animal eye autofocus, and I'll talk about that as we go on. So it does have some features that the A7S III and that don't have. I do mostly wildlife, so the megapixels are welcome. Yep. Completely understand. Cropping is not always good either. That is why I tell and teach everyone to fill the frame. Mark's here. G'day, Mark. Adventuring with Matthew James said, I was very surprised that the A7R has the all-eye 10-bit 422 at 600 megabits. I know, I'm amazed, Matthew. They really haven't held back with this camera. Apart from the 4K 60 crop, they haven't held back at all. I'm really surprised that they put those high megabits in there as well. I didn't expect that at all. I really thought that they would have held it back. And I'm even surprised that they've got the all-intra and, the AVC, or HEVIC, whatever it is. But I'm surprised they've put all of those codecs in. I really am surprised. And you know what? It's incredible. Like I said, they never held back with the A7 III, and I don't think, apart from the 4K 60, that they've held back on this camera either, apart from a couple of things that I'll discuss a little bit later. There's definitely less green in the A7 IV. Held my A7 III next to the R5, and it's clearly green shifted. Okay. Still the older... Oh, I know I'm going to talk about that. I think the upgrade makes this a very tempting camera. I predict this is going to be a winner. Oh, it sure will, Stephen. It's going to sell like crazy. Hey, Mark, g'day, buddy. Said, best part, bro, they put the... Oh, shush, Siri. They put the Next 7 touchscreen on it. Laugh out loud. Yeah, it's got the A7 touchscreen, but I love it. It says Next X7. It's a very good camera. I wasn't expecting to be the A1, but I guess I wanted it to be groundbreaking, and all the way the A7 III was when it first came out. Well, I think it sort of mostly is. Sab said, but like Michael said, it will be a secondary body to my A1, and it will fill in. Perfect, it will. It's going to be amazing. I will say the A1 surely has a better screen at the whopping 1.44K. The screen's disappointing. It will be fine for wildlife totally. Sam said, what would you have made groundbreaking in your opinion? What features do you think it's missing? I don't really think it's much, but I'll talk about that. There's a couple. If I was in the market for another camera at that price point, I think I would grab another A7R4. Interesting, Tony. Okay, so let's me quit this part of it because we'll go on to the stories. So if I go run down, let me close that over. Come back to social just so that I can do this. And let me go to, over here, I need to go to this. And if I go auto, is it going to switch? Yeah. All right, so let's have a look. Now I'm going to go through a little bit through. We'll look at the specs to start with, and then what we'll do is we'll look at the body, because remember I've got the A7S here, so I can sort of have a look at that too with you. Oops, let me just have a bit of Milo. Oh, geez, I keep banging the microphone. Now I am using also, I hope it works okay, because I haven't tried this in the stream today. I'm using the Ninja V Cast to stream today. So I'm hoping that it doesn't play up, because this is the first time I've used it, so we're going to find out. So let's have a look at the specs first. I'm going to sort of scroll down here and we'll go through this and then we'll have a look. So it is a 33 megapixel BSI CMOS sensor. Now there is a couple of things that may be a little bit disappointing in that, because you're not going to have very good silent shutter on this camera. I think it's rated at 1/15th. So it's not going to be anything like the A9 series or the A1 series. And look, I wouldn't expect that at this price range, really. Let's face it, that, you know, if you want to get an amazing silent shutter, you would get one of those other cameras like the A9 or the A1. It's going to be fine if you're shooting still subjects, but I certainly would not be using the silent shutter if you are in areas where you have lighting issues. Now, I know there is a way that you can adjust this using that. There's a dial in this that you can actually turn around to try and get that light perfect. I can't remember the name of it. Someone in the live chat may be able to help me. But you can change the settings so it alters the shutter speed to the exact amount that should avoid it. But I still wouldn't risk it with this camera because I just don't think that sensor's fast enough. And plus, if anything's moving, you're going to get pretty bad rolling shutter. So that's a bit of an issue, that it's not that stacked sensor. But apart from that, it's a brand new sensor that's 33 megapixels, so you're going to have the great ability to crop in with this. And it's the first time for a while that they've created that new sensor. Let's keep scrolling down. It will give you 4K recording. I'm going to keep going down because we'll look at the other specs in a minute. It also has the advanced flash control. I'm going to talk about that when we look at flashes and things a little bit later. But the 4K recording, and this is what's surprising because they've actually added 4K and it is all full 10-bit. It's got 4K 30 XAVC HS 10-bit recording, and like I said, it will go up if you're dealing with XAVC to 600 megabits a second. So they haven't held back at all. You can have your HEVC H.265 recording as well in there. So basically it's got all the same bit depths and everything as the a7S III, apart from you can't shoot 4K 60 in full frame and 4K 120. So you have to do 4K in Super 35 crop mode if you want to do that. But the thing is too, it does downsample if you're dealing with 4K 30 from your 7K sensor. So it's going to be incredibly sharp because it does that. And I think if you actually do, what was it? If you were doing Super 35, I think it downsamples from roughly about a 4.5 or something K sensor. So even that's going to be really nice and sharp. So I think if you're dealing with wanting the crispest image, if you're dealing with 4K 30, 4K 24, 25, 4K 30, this is going to look nicer in resolution than using an a7S III. If you're dealing with, like that perfect sharpness. So I think that's going to be incredible. And it's probably going to have the nicest look of any camera that's out there, I think. So it's going to be terrific if you're dealing with 4K 30. And that's one good thing. Yes, it does do Super 35 in crop mode. And like I said, that's a little bit of a disappointment for me because I do like shooting at 4K 60 in full frame. But having said that, I'd be more upset if they didn't give it to us. So at least they've given us that. But what it means is that you just have to use a wider lens. So it's not really that much of a big deal. At least they've given us 4K 60. And it just means that you might, if you like to shoot really wide, you might have to put something like a 16 to 35 on there or something like that. You've got to remember, you've got to take that crop factor into account. Let me just, Sam gave a donation. Thanks so much, Sam. Cheers. Have a coffee on me, bud. Thanks so much, Sam. Really appreciate it. So I don't think the 4K 60 is such a big deal. Like I said, I watched Mac Johnson's video this morning and he shot it at a wedding and he said, yeah, it sort of worried him. He'd prefer it was 4K 60 full frame. But he said once he started shooting with it, it wasn't really an issue at all. And he said, in fact, all you really had to do was go to your wider lens. So, look, I think I'm happy Sony gave it to us because at least it's still there. And like I said, for me, this would be the perfect B cam for something like I've got with my a7S III. Remember, I think the a7S III is about $1,000 extra. So it's a lot of money. And I think if you are a wedding photographer and you're just starting out or whatever, there's no better camera than this to have as a starting camera for wedding. Because, like I said, I think this is the perfect wedding camera that's out there. Let's keep going down. The recording time limit, there isn't one, which is amazing. So there's no recording time limit on this, which is brilliant. So you can go for as long as the battery will last. And I don't think there'll be any overheating either. The a7IV employs a pair of codecs. It's just saying a different workflow, so it's got the XAVC and also the HEVC 265 as well. Now, looking at this too, I did notice it's, from the reviews that I've seen out there as well, the rolling shutter though is not good. But let's talk about that because I've never had an issue with the rolling shutter of the a7 III. So I wouldn't be worried about that at all. Because unless you're panning really quickly, you're not going to notice that sort of thing. Look, if you're going to be vlogging, you're going to be using. I would suggest something like the ZV-1 or the ZVE-10. Because that's more of a vlogging camera. These are really too big, I think, for vlogging. But I don't think the rolling shutter, like I just showed you that video at the beginning of Kiara, and that was all shot with the a7 III, and that was beautiful. So I've never had an issue with what I shoot with rolling shutter. But if you do pan quickly and do things like that, the rolling shutter on this is apparently even worse than the a7 III. So, but I don't think that's an issue, and I would not buy the camera because of the rolling shutter. Let me put it that way, because I just don't shoot that way with moving things very, very quickly like that. So I don't think the rolling shutter really is that big a deal. It has all of the logs like the S-Cinetone. I love S-Cinetone. It's also got S-Log3 and all your other gammas and everything else in there. So, yeah, HLG and things like that. So that's fantastic. So it will match perfectly if you're dealing with the A7S III or the A1. So, you know, that's perfect in itself. So I think they haven't held back there at all. The autofocus, from what I've seen everyone talking about, look, I think it will... Some are saying it's a little bit better than the A7S III. I'd have to sort of see it to sort of believe that, because, well, I think we're at the point now where you probably wouldn't notice much difference, because the autofocus on the A7S III is just unbelievable. I mean, it is so good now that I really never have to worry about it. And in fact, I think the A7S III, from what I've done, is better than the A9 that I've got. Yes, the A1 might be a fraction better, but when I had the A1 for a few weeks, I didn't really notice that much of a difference between the A1 and the A7S III. To be completely honest, in normal use, the way I shoot. I'm not a sports photographer, but I'm just talking about the way I shoot. So I think we're almost in diminishing returns now about how good the AF can get in these cameras. So I would think that it's going to be at least as good as the A7S III. And it might even be almost the same as the A9, so the A1. So I think the autofocus on this camera is going to be just brilliant. And remember, it also has eye autofocus for birds as well. So if you're into wildlife shooting and stuff like that, you know, it's even a step above what we've got with, say, the A7S III. I'm hoping they bring that into the A7S. I'm hoping they give us updates for that. You know, eye autofocus for birds and wildlife and things like that. So it's also saying that it's got 759 phase detection points, and it will focus down to -4 EV. I've found now the focusing on these cameras, I've never had an issue anymore. As long as your lens is fast enough and stuff like it, I've never had an issue with the autofocus in low light at all. In fact, you can almost shoot in complete darkness, really. It's got real-time tracking now. So again, this is a big update from what you had on the A7 III. That's one thing I did miss on the A7 III, was the fact that it doesn't have real-time tracking. Once you start using real-time tracking, it really is a game changer, and there's nothing like it, and I love it. In fact, I just use center focus with tracking, lock onto the subject, and then it'll just follow them around, and that's the way I like to do it. It's brilliant, and I trust the whole system now, and it works wonderful, and I love shooting that way. I just set the tracking on the center and then click on whatever subject I want to track, and it's off. It's so good. It locks on quickly and locks. I believe it locks on very, very well. And I'll show you that in a minute. We'll look at what Sony have done a video showing the eye tracking on birds and stuff. It's AI-based recognition, and it's probably, like I said, a fraction improved over what we've had before. Beyond just tracking subjects, real-time IAF tunes and focusing accuracy and recognises humans, animals, and birds' eyes. So, like I said, they've upgraded it compared to what the A7S III had. You know, so there we go. AF during video recording and additional focus modes. It's got real-time AF tracking now in video, which is another fantastic thing. Before, on the A7 III, you lost the IAF and you didn't have real-time tracking either anyway, but you didn't have that with the A7 III. So this is a huge update, and this is why I'm saying when people say it's not a fairly big upgrade from the A7 III, I think it is definitely. You've got all the AF transition speeds, etc. Let me just keep scrolling down. The focus breathing, it looks brilliant, and I'm so hoping this is one thing that I really want them to bring out on the other cameras like the A1 and the A7S III. I don't think it will be given to the other cameras that are down there, but because the A7S III and also the A1 are Sony's ultimate cameras with this now, probably, I think that I'm hoping this gets an upgrade, because I think this is a game changer. Because focus breathing, like if you put the 50mm f1.2 lens on your Sony cameras, the focus breathing is pretty bad. This sort of seems to crop it in. It's using, I think it's using clear image zoom. So it does it automatically, but it will only work with the GM lenses. Now I'm hoping, because Tamron work with the Sony lenses automatically, I'm hoping this comes to the Tamron lenses as well. But what this will do, it just sort of crops into the image just a fraction, because it knows what lens you put on there and it knows what the focus breathing problems are, and then you don't have that focus breathing anymore. So if you're doing racking focus, this is where this is brilliant, and it really is a bit of a game changer. Like, they're the only camera manufacturer that's got this at the moment. So good on you, Sony, for doing this, because I didn't even think it was possible at this stage. But from what I've seen on this, if you are doing rack focusing, and I do it all the time when I'm shooting weddings, when I'm doing manual focus, this really can make a massive difference, because I hate that focus breathing where the background moves in and out. It looks almost like you're zooming. So that is so good. I'm just hoping that we get this in another updates for the other cameras. This focus map too, I'll show that in a minute, so you can have a look at how that works. I don't know whether I'm a big fan of that or not, but anyway, look, it's there, and it's just something that's a bit unique and different in how it focuses, and I'll show that as we go down. Actually, I'll do it now. Let me show it now, because I can show you how these look. So the animal IAF, let me just click on this, and I'll just show you how this works. I've turned the volume off because I don't want the video to get demonetized, but you can see here how the eye autofocus is working on the birds, and it looks to me like it's terrific from what they're showing, and I fully believe that this is how it's going to work. I don't think Sony will be silly enough to use this and tell lies, so I think this is going to be amazing. This is with the 200 to 600mm lens that they're doing here, so it great. I mean, that is one thing where it was really sort of lacking before, because I know a lot of photographers love to photograph birds, and having that ability to get the eye autofocus, with a lens like the 200 to 600 would be amazing. So that looks like it's terrific. G'day, Manny. Good to see you in here. The other thing too down here is this focus mapping. Let me just see, where was it? Here. Because Manny was just saying he likes it. But let me click on here. And I'll show you how this looks. Now, Manny's used it because he would have had one of the cameras that are there, so he might say he likes it. I haven't used it yet, but I don't know, looking at it, I'm just not sure. But you'll see here how it works. So what is, because it's so crisp on the back, you haven't got that ability with the a7 III, particularly with the EVF or the monitor, to get that really sharp look, because they're just not good enough in their quality. So that new system, Focus Map, may work quite well, because it does give you the ability to see what's in focus coming out of it. Anyway, it's something else that's new, and again, I'm hoping that is an update that's put into the a7S III and the A1. What else? Also, this is another feature that's been carried over too. It's the AF Assist. Lets you intuitively switch over to manual focus. Now, it's like DMF, I believe. So it's like it's talking about DMF, which means you can be on autofocus, but then you can hit your focus ring, and then it will become manual focus, so you can sort of override it straight away. So I think it's working like DMF, which is terrific. I think that's great. Body design and connectivity, the viewfinder and the LCD screen. This is one area where I'm really felt let down by Sony. This is one area where I think I don't know why they've done this. The EVF I'm quite comfortable with. I think 3.68 million EVF at this price range is okay. And it's basically what the a7 III has, and I think the a7IV I think has the 5.6. But it's a step up from what we had in the previous EVF. I think it's the a7 III. So it's not bad, and it's usable. But the thing that's terrible is the LCD. It's only a 1.3 million dot vari-angle articulating screen. Now, look, I'm really happy that they gave us the articulating screen. Remember, if you don't want to use it as an articulating screen, you can keep it closed. But the 1.3 million dot, I'm amazed that they didn't get rid of these screens and put that new one that you're seeing in the A7R 4A. I really thought that the days of having this terrible screen on the back has gone, but obviously it's not. That is the one downside, really, that I think the camera is a letdown, is the back rear screen. The EVF I can live with. I think that's okay. But the articulating screen at 1.3 million dots, yeah, is not good. That's another one reason why I would get the A7S III over this, because I adore that, you know, the EVF on the A7S III. Once you see it, it is just, I can't explain how good it is. That's really the only downside that I can see with the camera. But, you know, I suppose there's just some things that, you know, they just have to do due to the cost, I suppose. But I really wish Sony would have fixed that screen. I can't believe they used that. Hybrid stills, it's got, oh, this is terrific. Now, I'll show this in a minute. There's a new dial, this stills moving S&Q dial, looking over here. This is brilliant. I think good on Sony for doing this. Where was it shown? Oh, actually, let me go back to here because I think it's a better image. Let me go right back. I think it was up the top. Yeah, here. This new dial that they've got in here is just such a fantastic idea because you've got your photography. So it's got a new dial that's at the bottom. And I love this about the A9 series. This is why I love that, because it has the extra dial. And I hope this moves over to all their cameras now. So instead of having these on the top of this dial, you've got them on the side here that you just turn. So you can go from your stills to video and S&Q mode just by moving that dial. This is brilliant. I really think that's just such a great idea. You've also got this dial over here too, which is, well, it was previously your exposure compensation dial. Now let me switch over to here and I'll see if I can get another image of this to show it down the top. Yeah, here. So you've got this dial now, which, like I said, was your exposure compensation dial, and now you can program it to multiple different things. So that's brilliant as well. So if you, because remember, you can adjust your aperture, your compensation by the screen at the back. You can do that through the actual menus. So having the ability to use that for something else, like you might want to put that as ISO or something like that, is just such a great idea, having that control up there. They've also moved the recording button as well, which is a much nicer spot to put that. And now you can see that on the top dial here, you haven't got the photography, videography mode or S&Q mode. So this makes much more sense to me than the previous version of the A7 III. And I think this is brilliant, and I'd love them to add this onto all of their cameras. Does it have another image of that back part? Well, you can see the dial through here, how that works. I'm just seeing if it's got a closer up. No, it doesn't. I'll come back to this because I wanted to show some other stuff at the top. Let me have a look. Yeah, all right, let me go back to here. So it's, yeah, this stills movie in S&Q is great. I think that's terrific, and I think that's one great thing. It's got the dual memory card slots. Now, the memory card slots, it's an interesting decision by Sony here. Let me just see if it shows the card slots. Yeah, here. So this is quite interesting in itself. You've got the CF Express A slot and also SD that you can put at the top. And it's just got your normal SD card slot down the bottom. I am a little bit surprised that they didn't put both the CF Express A combination slots there for both. But having said that, you don't really need to use CF Express A for this camera. Remember, I think the only time you ever have to use, and you can probably point me out if I'm wrong, I know for 4K 120, you have to use the CF Express A if you're dealing with the highest bit rates. Apart from that, though, you can just use your normal V30 SD cards for everything. So really, I don't think that this camera is going to be an issue without it. But at least you can put a CF Express A card in it if you like. And the reason why I love those cards is because they're so reliable and so robust. So I think that's terrific. But at least you've got one in there if you want to sort of future-proof it. It's in there if you want to make sure, because it is much more reliable. So, to have that there is great. But if you don't want to do that because they're expensive, you can at least use your normal V30 cards, and that's what you'd need at least to get your 4K 60. Let me just come back, and also to keep your buffer running correctly too. Let me go back to here. Where were we? Just trying to see here. Oh, so it is a touch screen, so it's basically the same as what you've got on the a7S3. Same battery as the a7S3. Now, I think this is also terrific too. You've now got the full-size HDMI port, because if you look here, there, this is fantastic because you've... I hate the micro HDMI. I hate it. I really do despise using it because it's always breaking and, it just falls out. The full-size HDMI, I love that on my A7 S3. The other thing too here, if you're looking at the side, we might as well look at this now while we're looking at it. You've got your microphone, you've got your headphone socket, you've got USB-C through here, and that's your standard Sony, I can't remember what that is, but it's your standard Sony attachment. USB-C gives you the ability to use this as a webcam, and you can do 1080p 60 on this, which is terrific. It will do 4K, but it's only at something like 15 frames per second, which is useless really. But look, for live streaming like that, 4K 60 is ample, so you can do that too. So the body design, like I said, is exactly the same as the A7S3, but that's terrific, and I love the ergonomics that you've got there. Let's come back. Got an itchy nose. I might have to blow my nose. So it's a USB 3.2 Gen 2 point. Shush, Siri. I hate the way Siri does that. USB 3.2 Gen Type 2 port has been added, which is great. So it's going to be fast if you're downloading and things like that. That's terrific that they've given that. And it also, like I said, gives you the ability to run it as a webcam. It has 3.5mm headphone and external microphone ports, which is great as well. Multi-interface shoe, it's great because then if you want to use like the Sony microphone, which I use, I can't remember the model number, but it digitally interfaces in the top as well. And I believe it's going to work with the new flashes too. So, it's terrific. I really like that because it just means you don't have to use cables. So, that's one fantastic part as well. And also the USB Type-C port has 1000 base T connectivity as well for your FTP transferring as well. 5-axis steady shot inside. It's got the active as well, which is the same as the A7S. Look, not brilliant, but it certainly is good. Remember, if you want to turn everything off and you up your shutter speed, then you can also use Catalyst Browse, which is fantastic, and that works brilliant. I tend to leave all of the active stabilization and everything on when I'm using a gimbal. I just found it works wonderful with it. Wireless connectivity, you've got 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bands. Amazing. That's terrific. So you really will be able to connect this to phones and do amazing things with it because of that. The Image Edge Mobile and stuff like that. Like I said, if you're live streaming, it does do 4K 15. You wouldn't bother. HD 60 and 30, though, is brilliant. And I think I'd love to try that because it's great. You just plug it in and it's going to act as a webcam without any other devices. So that's so good. Internal recording is supported to the memory card while live streaming. And also, I believe, like the screen will show, it doesn't blank out like other things. The other cameras used to, like the a7 III and the A9. Let me just keep coming. That's about it for that. Let me just check through here just to see if there's anything through here with some images that we can look at. Like I said, it has the fully articulating screen now. That's the microphone that I was talking about that I use. It's terrific. I love that microphone. It's brilliant. So clean. It digitally interfaces in, so you don't need cables or batteries or anything like that to run it. It sort of shows it here. I love that microphone. You're going to be able to connect, obviously, your phone using 5G into it as well, which is going to be terrific, or connect to the internet through the USB-C for live streaming. So, like I said, everything that this has is amazing. It's got the articulating screen here, which I adore. So it's got that as well. It's just a pity that they didn't give us the A version of that though, but at least it has it. So it's got, like, as a fusion camera, it basically has everything. Let me just keep coming down. The images, the still images look beautiful. The dynamic range looks amazing as well. It does have HEIF 10-bit, like I said, for smooth gradations. It has all your creative looks. I never use them, but it's got them. Let me just keep scrolling down. This is talking about the flash control. I'll show you the new flashes in a minute. Reliable autofocus speed. Yeah, and like I said, I think that the autofocus is going to be incredible on this camera. It really is going to be incredible. But remember, you have got 10 frames per second, but that's if you are using compressed. Now, I don't think that's an issue because I always shoot compressed anyway. If you want to go uncompressed, it's going to go down to about 5 or 6. So you just have to be aware of that. If you shoot JPEG or compressed, it's fine, and that's the way I always shoot anyway. I've never had an issue with it. So I think 10 frames for what this is okay. The tracking will be brilliant. Like I said, I love it on all the newer cameras. The tracking now is just amazing. Your improved IAF, animal IAF will work wonderfully, and like I said, you've now got the bird IAF as well. And I think that's basically it. So let me just show you a couple of images through here. This is the articulating screen. Image quality from what they were showing. This is from Petapixel. They look terrific. It looks beautiful. I think the dynamic range on everything is going to be great on this. The ISO, like I said, they're saying that they wouldn't go over ISO 8000, but I know Matt Johnson said this morning that he could get up to about 12800 easily. After that, he said the A7S III pulled ahead. So you sort of have to, think about that. But I wouldn't think the ISO is going to be an issue with this at all. Just remember, do not underexpose. If you nail your exposure on this, you will be able to push the ISO to crazily high things. It's just if you underexpose, that's where the noise lives, and you've got to remember that. What else? I'll leave all these documents down below anyway so that you can see it. Like they're saying, it does do the 10 frames per second, but I believe, like I said, if you use the uncompressed, it goes down to about 5 frames per second, but looks terrific. Let me just keep scrolling down to see if there's anything else that I missed. There's no pixel binning there. It's all oversampled, so that's fantastic as well. And like I said, you're dealing here with a 6K oversampled full frame readout, so the image is going to be incredibly sharp at your 4K 30 or 4K 24 or 25. It's going to be brilliant at that. And like I said, if you were doing 4K. If you're doing 4K 60, I think it was a 4.5K oversampled down as well. Well, no pixel binning there, so that's great. That's about it, really. We're just saying Sony did it again. Just some images that you can look at there. They're just saying, are there alternatives? Canon has the EOS R6, which shoots 20.1 megapixel photos there. But like I said, the 33 megapixels obviously is giving you much more ability to crop in over, say, 20.1 megapixels. So if that's the way you shoot and you're doing wildlife, this is a much better camera. They're just showing the Nikon Z6 II and the Z7 II have 24 and 45 megapixel sensors. And they're just saying, yes, strongly contends with every camera the company has released so far. So that's it. So let me just switch back over here. So I think if you're looking at it, before we look at the new flashes, and then I'm going to unbox the Tamron lenses with you. If you look at how this is sort of positioned, I think this is, like I said, the best fusion camera that's available today. I really do. I personally prefer the A7S III, but I love that 12 megapixel file size. I love the EVF of that camera. I love the fact that it's got the 4K 60 full frame and also the 4K 120 if I do need it. But that's me. Most photographers like more resolution in their images. So if, they're still images. So if you're after that, this is definitely the camera to get, because you've got 33 megapixels and you're also going to have that ability to crop in if you need to. It's still got 4K 60. Yes, it is Super 35 APS-C mode, but look, I don't think that's an issue at all. You just have to take the lens you're using into account when you're doing that you will have to have a wider lens than what you would normally have due to that 1.5 crop factor. So that's just something that you've got to think about when you're looking at this. So I don't think the 4K 60 is an issue at all, that it's Super 35. I'd rather have it on there than not have it at all. So that's, just something that you've got to think about, that there's really not much wrong. The only thing really that's wrong with this camera really is the LCD should have been better. I mean, Sony should have put that better A version of that screen on there, and that's probably the only issue. Rolling shutter is definitely there, but like I said, I've never had an issue with rolling shutter the way I shoot. If you're going to be panning like crazy and stuff like that, well, then it's going to be an issue, and you need the A7S III, because the A7S III has very little rolling shutter. But the way I shoot, I never really have an issue with that anyway. So, yeah, I think it's great. I think Sony have really done a terrific job with this camera. For the price that they've released it at, I think it's got, everything that it really needs to have, apart from that crappy LCD screen that they've got on the back of it. They really have a winner with this camera. Would I buy it? No, because I would get another A7S III. But for the average user out there, that I would definitely say it's a must-buy, because if you are shooting stills and video and you want a camera that's going to do it all with the ability to crop in, it's brilliant, and I really think it's fantastic. So that's that. Now let me just go back to here, because I'm going to go to show you these two new flashes that have come out. So they've also released or announced these two flashes. I have these. Well, I shouldn't say I have these. I have the original one, which, is this one. I still love this because of the way it rotates. It's sort of unique in how it works. This is also a HLV 50 or something, but they've brought out a couple of new ones. This is the HLV 50, I think. And it's a HLV 60 and also a smaller version, which is the HLV F46RM. I'll come back to Q&A. We'll have a look at the Q&A once we've finished this and I've unboxed it, those lenses. But there's not much to say. I'll just leave this underneath. But if you're interested in doing this, they're priced at... They will keep up with your 10 frames per second, which is good. Like if you're using the A7IV, this would be brilliant as well. But they look like they're nice flashes. The only thing, I suppose, is you have to justify the cost, because they're not cheap if you compare them to something like Godox. Let me just keep down. They can control up to 15 flashes or receiver units. The FL46 is $400, and the HVL F60 will be available from November 21 for $550. So if you want to stay completely in the Sony realm, and look, they will be very reliable. I've never had an issue ever with my Sony flashes, but I had to pay a lot of money for those. It's hard to justify the cost if you compare them to what Godox have on the marketplace. But I just wanted to show you that. But good on Sony for bringing them out. And I'm sure they'll be, amazing quality. I'm not sure if they'll tilt like the other ones. They haven't showed that like what mine did. But anyway, oh yeah, I think that one does actually. Yeah, it will. I think I can see where it tilts through here. I love that aspect of it. Anyway, that's something new as well. So, boy, Sony have been hitting things out of the park, haven't they? So before I go to Q&A, let's have a look at these lenses, because I'm so excited to have a look. I can't wait. So let's get them out. Let me just take my headphones off. Look at this. I mean, look at this beauty. Oh, mate. I love this. This is the A7S III. I mean, it's just beautiful. And the A7IV is going to be the same. Oh, I can't wait to have a look at it. So I've got to get the trusty knife out. Oop, this way. Because I haven't even opened up the box. I've got the two lenses, I think, in here. Now, if I stab myself and I have to rush to hospital, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see these. Oh, Jesus. I should do it away from me. Oh, I nearly had an accident. Here we go. Are we ready? Here we go. Let me put that one on the table. I need to get rid of that knife. Let me get rid of this before I end up in an ambulance. And ooh. All right. So, let's open up the 35 to 150 first and have a look. Oh, mate. Oh, yeah. So, I so wish I could keep these. Oh, well. All right, let's go down. They're always hard to get out of the package. All right. Better keep all this. There we go. Oh, man. You ready? Hang on. Tamron 35 to 150 a7IV. Ooh, I'll do the Jarrah Poland sniff test. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, man. Oh, I should do the angry photographer. Let me just take this off. Hang on. Let me go there. All right, so let's have a look at this little beauty here. I don't even know what the switches do yet. I'm going to have a look. Couple of switches here. So you've got custom settings. I'm not sure what they even are until I look at them. You've got your AFM manual focus switch there, and you've also got programmable buttons on the side there too. The build quality of this feels amazing. And you've also got a lock too there as well. So let's bring that. So it does come out when you turn the zoom ring. Nice and smooth though. And like I said, you can program these buttons to do whatever else you want to do. There is a USB-C here. I'm not sure what that is down the bottom there. I'm going to have a look. I've got all the specs, so the review of this I'll mention everything that this does, whether that's for updating it. It might also be to program it for back button if it's back focusing or something like that. I'm not sure. Might be something to do with lens calibration. I would think you'd upgrade the firmware from this on the camera, but anyway, I'll have to read the manual and have a look. These are probably stabilization modes or something, or it might be focusing modes on here to have things close focus or not. It's beautiful. Wow, this feels amazing. I'll show you the lens size. Bit of dust on it. Need to get that blower that I used. So this looks, I can't wait to try this. I really can't wait to try it. It feels gorgeous. Bit of weight though. But it does feel real premium. It's got all your gaskets in there for weather sealing. Wow. Anyway, that's that. Like I said, I'm not going to talk much about it at this stage. I just wanted to do an unboxing with you, and I'll take it out and shoot in the coming days. Let me just put that over there. So let's have a look at this, because I'm really interested in this one. I love my Tamron 28 to 75. I actually adore it. Now, I believe this one is a big step up from that. Let me just bring this out. Oops. Put those all back in so I don't lose them. them down there. Okay, we're ready. Tamron 28-75 G2 ASMR. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, that feels nice. That's completely different to the other one. So it's just called the 28-75 f2.8 Di3, and it's the VXD G2. And I know I've shot with G2 Tamron lenses before, and they are a massive step up in their normal quality. So I really can't wait to see what this is like. Again, it's got the USB adapter down the bottom. I'm going to have to work out what that is. It definitely feels more premium than the last version, just the feel of it alone. It's a little bit more shiny, I noticed, too, straight away. 67mm, so it's kept the same filter thread as the other lenses. You have now got a focus button on there, though, which is really nice, because I love using that to, get IAF. Oh, this looks nice. I don't even know what these cost, but geez, I'd be tempted to update mine to this, depending on how it looks, of course. But I'll have a look at that in the coming days. If you want to check the difference in size, this is quite a big lens, but I'm really excited to try them both out, like for stills and a bit of video. So, wow. I've got a lot of fun in the coming days. I've got a new Mac coming in the coming days. I've got a new Apple Watch. And I've got my new Mac coming this week, I believe. So I'm excited about that. So stay tuned for the review of both of these. Like I said, I'll have these up as soon as I can. It'll be interesting to see how they compare, particularly the 28-75. It'll be interesting to see how that looks compared to the original 28-75 that I've got. So stay tuned for that. So let's just open up to some Q&A. Let me just do this rundown. I think I've got one for that. Yes, I have. Here we go. Oh, baby. Social. All right, so let's have a discussion. What time is it anyway? It's 12:11. I need to go and get some lunch. Let me scroll down to roughly where we were. Oh, George. Hey, Australia. Let me keep coming down here. I was way down there, I think. G'day, Dave. Good to see you. Got an itchy nose. All right, I'm going to start from around here. Matt Johnson broke down the a7IV really well, worth checking out. Yeah, I watched it this morning. It was a pretty good review, actually. Mark said, would like to test the webcam feature. What else have we got? Panda said, did David just do a low voice Bob Ross? What's that mean? It's a full frame webcam. Yep. Amar also said the Canon R6 has a great electronic shutter. It's a good camera. The R6 is a great camera. Let me keep going. Tony said, Kai showed it a pretty bad rolling shutter. Yeah, like I said, the rolling shutter is not good, but I've never had an issue with it. It depends how you shoot. If you are, like I said, panning and things like that, well, then it could be an issue. But I've never had an issue with the rolling shutter of the a7 III. I just don't use it that way. If you like, I mean, that is one big advantage with the A7S, remember, 3. The rolling shutter is really controlled. So if you're in a car and you're shooting out the side and it's moving, well, then the A7S III is going to be much better because it really has great control over the rolling shutter. And that's one issue with this. If you were using this, your sort of light poles and everything would be on an angle. So there are times where it matters, but I've never had an issue with the way that I work. Vassal said, why does no one call the Sony cameras by their proper names? They are the alpha cameras, not a camera. That's because we're lazy. Thanks so much for that donation, Sam. Really appreciate it. Love it too, guys, if you could give me a thumbs up. It does make a difference. I'm not sponsored, so it does make a massive difference. What does that mean? Northrop is a Canon shill. I love it. Is the rolling shutter worse than the a7 III? I've heard from the reviews it is a little bit worse. But I wouldn't worry about it. Unless you're shooting stuff that's panning, I would not worry about it. I've been trying to find out with the price rise, Sony has finally included an external charger. I don't know if they have or not, actually. Panda says all his Canons have the Magic Lantern RAW. Yeah, it does help, doesn't it? David, the a7IV real-time IAF for animals and real-time tracking with 94% coverage. I know, it's so good. The autofocus on this is going to be amazing. At least it's a better than the R6, but not keeping my Panasonic S5. MY said, I'm keeping my A9 too. Stay blessed. Good for speeches as a cutaway camera. Iron Brown said, Panasonic S5 does 4K 60 with a crop too. Yep. Silent shutter can be useful for wildlife, but is the E-shutter distortion too bad? Yeah, I think it would be. If it's anything that's moving, you're going to have an issue. You need an A9 if you're going to deal with wanting a decent silent shutter. That's for sure. I bet in 6 months they will give the ProRes full-frame 4K 60 RAW to the 10-bit output to a monitor. That's why they gave you the full HDMI and the latest processor. Well, you never know, they could. But I don't think they will, because I think they still want to push people to getting the A7S III. I have a problem with the S35 4K 60 whatsoever. It's perfectly fine. Oh, you have no problem. Yeah, I wouldn't either. It's fine. Amar says the A9 too has better video. As an A9 shooter that only shoots silent, I feel the A1 is the best option for me. Oh, the A1 is amazing. Speeching, dancing ceremonies don't need to be in the slow motion. So for me, the a7IV is a good second camera. Just make sure, though, the lighting, I would be worried. I would not use silent shutter with lighting. You just don't know sometimes until you get home and then you see banding in your images. You need the A9 if you're going to shoot indoors for speeches and stuff like that, if it's under different lighting, I think. David agreed, the A7S is one of the best cameras I've used. The stills are beautiful, and if you don't crop, it's a gem, 100%. If you do crop or use aspect ratios for creativity, 12 megapixels is kind of tight. Yep, fully agree with you, Michael. Sam said, finally Sony Alpha Rumors hit it on. I know they did well, didn't they? Rolling shutter would be worse because of the extra pixels. Yeah, it's. I have heard it's slightly worse, but I wouldn't worry about it. Hey, David, what do you think of the new DJI 4D camera and gimbal? It's got your name all over it. I have looked at it, Tony. I don't know, but I mean, I've only looked briefly at it. I haven't even really checked it out yet at this stage. I'll have to have a look and just see what it's like. I don't need another thing, though. I'm getting another gimbal in the next coming days, actually. So, Panda said, this is why Michael said not long ago in a comment, not that long ago, quote, he's talking to someone else. Daniela, as a photographer from South America, the price is much available in the great A1. At least we can afford it. Yeah, for the A7IV, yeah. Like I said, it's only going to be 20,000 Australian dollars. I think you can get it for just below 4. Rolling shutter is much better in crop mode. Yeah, it always is, though. So, yeah, that's definitely a thing. If you are doing 4K 60, APS-C mode will give you a much better result. That's for sure. We'll get the A9 III next year. It's been 2 years since the release of the A9 II. I think we will get the A9 III next year sometime. Who knows? They must say the A1's overrated. It's amazing, the A1. A1 is not overrated. Yeah, I don't think so either. What else have we got? Dan, I didn't see that. Dan, laugh out loud. The autofocus on Sony is so good these days. The only autofocus programs I have is with my own eyes. I know the autofocus is nuts. It really is crazy how good it is. Does the A7IV have an AA filter? I haven't heard. I would think it would. I don't know. Oh, that's a really good point. Whether it does or not. Guys, which lens would you suggest to film with this camera on flying, nesting, or normal wild? The 200 to 600, definitely with that. Manny was talking about that focusing method that I was talking about before, and he said it works very well. I like focus map as well, he was saying. Oh, hang on, guys. Stay there. I've got a delivery. Be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. It's just the a7IV. I'll have to pack it up. I'll have a look at it a bit later. What else are we after? Michael said, David, I get to use the a7IV tomorrow morning with a 70 to 200 GM. Oh, too, that'll be fantastic, Michael. Lucky you. Ike's here as well. Dan was saying the 200 to 600 Sony lens is fantastic. It is. It's brilliant. I had to run right to the front of the house. It's a long way. Also saying 200 to 600. Yep. What else? Let me keep coming down. Tony said, everyone keeps saying how good the focus is on the a7IV is. So great, but the reviews I've seen showed it misfocused quite a bit. Yeah, like I said, don't count on that yet, Tony, because it will all be pre-release stuff. And also, like I said, you're going to have to get lens firmware updates too. Audio is going out for anyone else. Oh, was it dropping audio, was it? Oh, I wonder why. That's weird. People are saying the audio is going on and off. Don't know why. Must be something on YouTube side, I think. Let me just keep scrolling down. Audio sounds perfect, Aaron's saying. Don't know what was going on. No issues with the audio here. It must have been a YouTube thing. Let's keep going in and out for me. Isn't that weird how some were having audio issues? I left and came back and the audio is clear again. Probably helps to restart. I don't know. Who knows? It's probably just a YouTube thing, I think. Stream is good here in Queensland. Restart the video, Ike. Refreshed after the freeze and it's all good. Oh, okay. So it was, yeah, because even though I didn't get any bad things showing up on the health either, which is interesting. Let me keep scrolling down. It must have been a YouTube thing. V60 Pro Grade is the sweet spot. Yeah, Pro Grade make great cards. They really do great cards. That's for sure. Dan said, we can give Dave a thumbs up, please, people. Thank you so much, Dan. The buffer sucks pretty bad if you don't use a CF Express card for photos. 20 image buffer and reduced down to 8 frames without the CF Express. Yeah, so if you do want to shoot continuously without having any buffer issues, it will be an advantage to get the CF Express A card. Yeah, thanks for that, AJ, because I did forget that actually. Daniela said, so are you able to use the SD2 for stills and the CF Express for movies? Yes, you can. They can be programmed differently, that's for sure. Ike said whoever suggested restarting the stream was right. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. So it must have been YouTube. Let me keep scrolling down to see people are just talking against each other. I'll be back with Aaron next week. So pop in on Wednesday, you guys, if you wanted to see that. Ike said the A9 II is still an amazing camera. It certainly is. The A9 I is still an amazing camera, Ike. The A7 III is still an amazing camera. I mean, I showed you that video at the beginning today, and how good was that video? Like, that was with the A7 III. I mean, it's amazing. It was with the 55 Zeiss. Like, they're amazing cameras. Don't underestimate the a7 III either. I mean, the great thing is that camera may drop. It might not because it's a little bit, it's cheaper than what the a7 IV is. But if it drops down or you can get a really good second-hand one, great camera. Yes, it is a 7K oversample, so it's going to be very, very sharp. That's for sure. Shooting compressed is fine. Just don't under or overexpose too much. Yep. What else? I'm just trying to see. You guys own too much gear. I love it. 24 is ample. Well, I sort of think it is. And like I said, I'm happy with 12 megapixel. 24, but if you do like cropping in or you want the reach for like wildlife stuff, it's amazing. Delta Dave said, "G'day, Dave. You know the a7 IV is a decent release because Ken Wheeler hasn't said a peep about it." I love it. Let me keep coming down. Amo, we love you, David. Thanks, buddy. A2 coming. Oof. Why is a7 IV crop acceptable, but it wasn't acceptable when Canon used it? I don't know if I said that wasn't, if it was bad. I mean, like I said, I prefer it to be there than not be there at all, though. That's the issue. What's really bad about this camera is rolling shutter. Yeah, well, there is rolling shutter there, definitely. The A1 LCD is better, yes. The A7S is slightly better too. They've used a crappy screen on this, that's for sure. We are all natural light photographers. Gene said, I'm thinking of moving to the a7 IV from the a7R III with the tech improvements. Yeah, it'll be a big improvement over that camera, Gene. Yep, I mean, you will lose a little bit of resolution, but not much, though. I mean, I think it will be a much better camera. Tony said, the low-res EVF on the a7 IV is what surprised me. Would have thought it would have been higher. I would have thought they would have put the 5 million dot one in there at least. Yeah, but, I mean, it's okay. At least it's better than what it was. I think it's better than what it was, wasn't it? I can't remember, but... the a7 III, a7 IV is not a decent upgrade, my friend. The a7 III, I think it is. I think it's a great upgrade. But everyone thinks differently. I know they were talking to each other. Tony said the a7 III is an incredible camera. Like I said, they're all incredible cameras now. It's only features that you get, you know, that make a difference. I think the a7 IV is a much better camera than the a7R III, though. Let me keep coming down here. R5 won't be upgraded anytime soon, knowing Canon, which is a good thing. What else? Is that me unboxing? Look at the smile. I love Aaron. Look at the smile while he opens up those toys. I know. Damn the ASMR. Keep coming down. Michael said, the worst thing I did was shoot a few weddings with the a7S III. After shooting with that, no other camera feels as good in regards to clean stills in low light. I know. The a7S III, Michael, there's just something about it that I adore. There's something about the images that I just absolutely adore that I capture with it. I really can't put it down. I really can't. David, that lens looks like a gun on a tank. My Tamron 35 to 150 2.8 for Canon DSLR creeps a lot when it's not locked. Oh, is this locked now? Well, that's locked, but let me just see. Whether it will over time, I'm not sure, but it's definitely not creeping now. It's not moving at all. Let me just see down here. Tony said, I hate selling my used gear when everyone wants to pay half of what I paid. I know, it's just the fact of what it is, though, isn't it? I don't buy gear now unless I plan on keeping it for a long time. Yeah. Oreo is here as well. G'day, Oreo. I'm sure USB is for firmware updates. Yeah, it might be. But they already update on the camera. So it's interesting, Oreo, that they've done that. Where is the Q&A? It's up the top up there. Tony said, take care, I'm out. A lot of people will be going to bed. I'm going to go and have lunch in a minute. Is the rolling shutter impact on any moving subject? Can I film non-movable? Yes, you can. If it's non-movable, yes. But be careful of lighting because there might be an issue. Tamron website says the cable is for lens utility software. Okay. To customize features, mostly focus options and update firmware. Oh, so you can update the firmware. Cool. George said, feeling better about my a7IV pre-order. Thanks, David. Feel even better about my Tamron 35-150 pre-order now. The long wait for delivery. Great camera if you can use a mechanical shutter for photo and don't do silent shooting. Personally, I need silent shooting, but many people don't. Yeah, it just depends. If you need silent shooting, you need to be on the A9. Does anyone know if the a7IV has got a time limit? No, it doesn't, Oreo. Delivery, laugh at loud may be my new lens. Don't know what the delivery on that is at the moment. Sony money truck backing up, beep, beep. That's what else out there. New camera coming for delivery. No, it's actually a pair of shoes. I've got some new runners. What else? Pizza. I'm having pizza tonight. Can't wait. Yum. Oh, Long Rider gave a donation. Sorry, Long Rider, I missed it. $5 from Long Rider. Put Nomo in the corner in time out for being bad. I know he's a very, very bad boy. I love it. What else? I'm just trying to see if there's any other questions for me. Michael said the A1 has so much going on inside that camera Sony better hope it doesn't blow up in someone's hand. I know it's just an incredible camera, that's for sure. Joseph said, what's your take on Northrop's leak? I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not sure whether they deliberately did it or whether, like for clicks, or whether Sony said just leak it. I mean, all these things can happen. I don't know. Who knows? But if they did leak it, it's a very silly thing to do because you're under NDA. What else? 4K live stream. 4K live stream. Watching in 4K screen is really good. I can count your face hairs. Is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? Hello from regional Canada. Oreo said, that's why I don't like the choice of 33 megapixel. Don't need them for weddings and they make the fast burst performance worse. It's pretty good if you use a CF Express though, or the CF Express A card on there. Oreo said, never going to sell my A7R3 unless I can afford an A1. Yep, I can completely understand that. G'day, Greg. Good to see you in here. Danielle said, the big problem ahead, chip shortage and delivery issues. Yeah, I know. The chip shortage is still causing issues. Joseph said, I downloaded it and sent it to David. You certainly did. Thanks so much for that. I had a look at it. Oreo said, David, USB on lens is a safety move in case Sony decides that only their own lenses might be updated via the camera. It's more convenient than docking stations. Yeah, it's a pretty good idea, isn't it? Hey, Michael, I think the reason why they had to crop the sensor on 4K 60 is simply because of the rolling shutter, because in slow-mo, this would have been unusable in full frame. Maybe. Michael said, I can't name one thing that Sony left on the a7IV from the a7III. It's an all-new camera, but people are asking for space, the cameras these days. I think it's a great release. I really do think it's a terrific release. I really do. All right. I think I'm going to go because I'm absolutely starving. Just trying to see if there's anything else comes up before we finish. All of these YouTubers were saying the A1 is good in everything. I get the A1 and it's the best overall camera I've ever had. But for low light, it gets no cookie from me. 50 megapixel gets noisy quick. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Like I said, please give us a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Stay tuned for coming reviews. Like I said, I'll be reviewing the new Tamron lenses that I've got here as well. I'm going to go and have some lunch because I am starving. So apart from that, everyone, I will see you in the next video. Let me just see if I can switch this over.